Hello and welcome to Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana. I am Jenna Cottrell. You might realize sport coat and hoodie is not here tonight. Dan Fates with a veterans night off in this one. Mike, we're talking all about, of course, this Bills team as they get ready to face off against a 7-1 Vikings team. But before we even talk about Sunday, let's talk about Josh Allen and
Yep.
what we've seen so far and what that kind of looks like in terms of what we think for this upcoming season. But before we get started, please be sure to like, comment if you have a question, as well as subscribe. We always appreciate it. All right,
Yeah.
Mike, let's go back though.
Yep.
Josh Allen, what do you think? What do you think about this injury? What do you think it means for the season?
Look, they got to be smart, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, everything is trending towards him not playing. I mean, I think you were up there Wednesday. I think we'd
Yeah.
all be stunned. He didn't practice. Sorry, Dan is hiding. Shame for wearing his suit hoodie combo. Rick's saying that.
That's fine. Accurate.
He's not healthy. Plus, honestly, they have to be smart. I mean,
Yeah.
I was listening, everybody's a doctor now. Even the doctors are, TV doctors. And I get it.
Yeah.
They're trying to compare it to other injuries and all. But we
Mhm.
saw him there Sunday. You were on the field. I was there too. He got hammered into that elbow. It got
Yeah.
pushed back. And the good news is it does not appear to be, very serious to the point where we're talking about a surgery and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's an injury.
Yeah.
And they take some time. And if it doesn't get done correctly, then you have a long-term problem. So
Yeah.
I think they're being smart, Jenna. I think that's what it is. I think tomorrow we'll see that he's ruled out, and then they'll bring Barkley up from the practice squad.
A couple of things that I know, and Brian writing this comment, JA injured in the pocket, not running the ball.
Yes.
Go figure. And that is a nice point to think about because so many people talk about, look, are we huge fans of Josh Allen always running with the ball and what that means for his durability and all those types of questions. But it is interesting how the time that he injured his UCL before, that's his elbow. And then this time it's been while he's been in the pocket. And
Yeah.
that's just something to think about. But I think for me, what stood out was, I've been covering the Bills now for quite some time, like yourself as well. And like hearing Sean McDermott say the injury is day to day as opposed to week. And that was something that immediately I perked up my ears because I was like, okay, it's day to day status as opposed to looking more long term, thinking about, okay, it's not even this week, it's maybe not next week. So that was just something that I thought about. But I mean, Sean McDermott even said on Wednesday, like, it's a common sense approach. They're going to
Yeah.
follow what the doctors say. Because if you put this decision in Josh Allen's hands, 9.9 times out of 10, he's going to say he wants to play. So I think that point of them following the medical wisdom and
Yeah.
having that common sense approach to me just says erring on the side of patience because while you want Allen to be out there as much as possible, he is your superstar quarterback. At the same point, he is your superstar, so you need to protect him and maybe make the long play because what is expected this season of the Bills.
Yeah. Well, both Jenna and I are fluent in McDermott speak. We've heard enough of it.
Yeah.
And he's pretty accurate when he talks about those things. Like when he says day to day, that player is usually back within 2 weeks, I would say. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually
I would
within.
agree with
Doesn't
that.
guarantee they'll play that week. Good
Correct.
chance that they'll play the next week or they're
Correct.
close.
I would
you
agree
know?
with that. Yeah.
When they say week to week, well, now we know what that means. And for a good example, so was like Greg Rousseau. They're saying week to week. Now, when in this world that we live in now, when they go week to week, then you start thinking about putting a guy on IR.
Correct.
Where
Yeah.
it'd be a
Yep.
4-week injury. So, they have some players that I guess would be candidates. Maybe they don't need the roster spot at the moment, but we don't know when Poyer's going to be back.
Mhm.
We know that Rousseau's going to be out for a little while.
Yeah.
I mean, Edmonds is going to miss the game. At least it looks that way. I guess we could get surprised at
I was
that
just
too.
say he did not. He was in sweatpants when we
Right.
saw him on Wednesday at
So,
practice.
but again,
Not
that's a couple
practicing.
of weeks. Yeah, not practicing. That's a couple of weeks. The
Yeah.
good news is they're getting Milano back, and Dane Jackson looks good. So those all
Yeah.
help. But to the Josh Allen point you make, you've got, well, first of all, he is hurt. Like,
Yeah.
If this was Super Bowl Sunday, he'd be playing. It's not. Right? I mean, it's not.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
it's kind
yeah.
of the way, or the AFC Championship game. Maybe he's playing, in that case, or you'd have to look at a playoff game. Could he play? Probably. I know we all saw him
Yeah.
throw the ball 70 yards on that last play, but it's a little different. And then what you
The
said too was
adrenaline piece that factored
right.
into it.
And then
Yeah.
if he gets hit again and it's hurt even worse, and it
Yeah.
goes from a sprain, which I'm not a doctor, I don't play one on YouTube, but from what I'm reading from doctors is it's a minor tear is
Yeah.
what it is. Well, you
Yeah.
don't want it to go to more than that.
Correct.
And so give him a little time to heal and then come back. So we'll
T
get Case Keenum.
Yeah, so today I was kinda looking at some of the video that I filed from the game against the Jets, and I realized, like, after the game watching Allen walk off, because we got video of that, he kinda you could tell he was kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
Uncomfortable?
Yes. Like, he was
Yeah.
kind not babying his right arm, but you could tell, like, he was running with one arm and then had his right arm kinda, like,
Yep.
close to his side. So, I feel like, in the moment, you're like, "Oh, whatever," and then looking back at it, it's like, "Oh, okay, that kinda makes sense to see." Um,
Yeah.
but I do agree with you, like, if this was he would be playing if this
Yeah.
was
I mean,
the Super
I
Bowl,
think
but
he
it's not, and
could.
they don't yeah, yeah.
Physically, I think he could. Again, we're guessing because we don't know.
Yes,
I
yeah,
saw him after we got done, came off the field. You and I were in the media room. We
mhm,
were part of the interview with him. He even admitted he was in pain, or he had pain. And
yeah,
Josh doesn't usually admit a lot, and he did. And then I saw him sitting in his locker. Now, he always looks, you know, despondent
yes,
if they
that's actually
lose
the
the
perfect
game.
word,
And
yeah.
I could see him sort of sitting there, and I didn't want to make too much of it, but he was, you could
Mhm.
tell he was almost like a little fidgety sitting there. I think he had some pain there. So in that case, look, it's why you sign Case Keenum. When
Yes.
it happens, everybody will say to me, but talking about quarterbacks, they're like, yeah, well, if Josh Allen's out, they're dead anyhow. Well, you could say that about almost any team with their starting quarterback. The question is if Case Keenum had to play for the rest of the year, the question this always is what it is. What if he's out a week or two or three?
Yeah,
Can Case Keenum hold down the fort? Can other guys
yeah.
step up? And they think he can. So we're going to get an idea.
And that is exactly why you did sign him. Like, Case Keenum has been in the league for 11 years. This is his 8th team. Like, he's 34. And, we talked in the locker room. I'm a board certified doc. Yes, the sprain is a tear in the ligament, minor. Now, Mike and Jenna and more stress could exacerbate it.
Yeah.
Forgot what the word exacerbate was.
Yes, that's all right. I
But
hope
yeah.
that's true. Doc, we're believing you. But yeah, it feels that way. Like,
Oh my god. Do you see this? I'm a board certified always right guy. You and Dan would get along real well, John.
by the way, there's more people asking. Dan, we'll say Veterans Day off.
Yes.
He is.
He's not feeling great.
He's not 100% Dan. I don't
No.
even think if he's wearing a hoodie, he's not wearing the sport coat with it.
No, no. He
It's
texted
just
us to
hoodie.
say he's downgraded to out for tonight.
Yeah, he's downgraded to out.
That is legitimately what he said in the
He's
text.
yeah. Yes, Dan's out getting a full suit like Mike. It's his look. It's his
He loves
look.
it,
It's his
You
look.
can't yeah. That's who he
He and
honestly,
Orlovsky.
people ask me this, and I'm sure they ask you this too, Mike. Like, that Dan is who he is.
Oh,
Like,
no doubt.
he is not putting on an act for TV. He is not. That is exactly who he is. He is very authentic. I think this channel, we do a good job of being ourselves.
Now, see, that's not. I mean, with me, it's not true. When I'm not on the air, I'm quiet all the time.
Oh my god.
I never say a word.
We drove back from the game, a little inside baseball. We drove back from the game on Sunday night. Mike drove the entire way. He did a great
Yes.
job. But at one point, I was like, I think I said like 7 words. You actually told one story twice as well, but
I probably did. But you know what?
let you go. I was
You
like,
kept
you know what?
saying
He was awake.
I was wide
Maybe not the
awake.
most alert, but you're awake, and that's
Well,
what matters.
hey, that deer got out of the way.
Oh man, at one point there was a deer like right next to us, and I was like, "Did you see that deer?" And you were like, "No." It's like, "Oh, that's terrifying."
What does this mean? Mike is full of it, by the way. What'd I do? Oh, probably saying that I'm quiet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no,
Yes.
Mike is
I like to
quiet is.
talk.
I was just say you're a talker. You're a
Talker.
talker.
It
Yeah,
served
between you
me
and Dan,
well.
it's honestly it is sometimes hard to get in a word edgewise,
Yeah.
but that's okay because I don't like to talk that much. So
Oh, wait a minute.
compared
Now,
to you
okay.
guys,
I got Melissa asked a couple good questions. I'm going to go with her second question first. She says, well, not a question, a statement. She said, I have more faith in Matt Barkley.
Barkley.
Um, I think Matt Barkley's a competent NFL player. I do
Yeah.
think Case Keenum is better. And it's funny
Mhm.
to me, I think some fans got, when he came in the preseason and he was out there and Case Keenum did not look good in
Yes,
those games. Well, he was playing with the third string
he was throwing it.
players. Right. And
Yeah,
that's why I said his job is not to play with these guys. His job is to play with the starters if Josh is out, which is what we're going to see on Sunday. So
and
I
he's
think it's
very
pretty good.
yeah, and he's very well versed at what this is like. I love Sean McDermott said like this is not his first day with our team, and this is not the first day that he's going through this process. Like
Yeah.
he knows what goes into it, and I also think about too, like early on in the season, like he's getting used to being in Buffalo, some of the receivers, all this stuff. Like he talked about in his post game or not post game, sorry, and on post practice interview on Wednesday, yesterday, just about like, yeah, he's not getting those first team reps at practice. He's just not because those are Josh's. But he's like, I'm standing directly behind Josh and I'm
Yeah.
studying how do the receivers get in and out of their breaks? What are the visual cues that I can look for? Where should I put the ball in these circumstances? Now, physically, he's not as gifted as Josh Allen. We all know that. You know that. I know that. But at the same point, he is a guy that's well studied on what he needs to do.
Yep.
And I was asking this to Dan. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No,
Sorry,
no,
Mark.
go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
Okay, I was asking this to Dan. Obviously, one is way more paid than the other, but like Case Keenum, Kirk Cousins, like obviously Kirk Cousins is a starter in this league, but I don't think it's like a tremendous difference in terms of like I think Kirk Cousins and the team are playing well, but it's not the quarterback play to me that I'm like, wow, that's so outstanding.
Yeah. Cousins has had moments where he's played really well. But yeah, I don't think there's this huge disparity. I don't think anybody really believes Kirk Cousins is, say, a top 10 quarterback. He's had moments where he's played well, but so has Case Keenum. Look,
Yeah.
Case Keenum's job, you were describing it, Jenna, I think is when you're the backup, your job is to be ready in a week, to be ready in a play, right?
Yeah.
In either case, like you've got to be ready to say, Josh is down, I'm in, go
Yeah.
play. You've got to be ready when I get a week of practice. You got to be ready when maybe you don't get a lot of snaps, but you're
Mhm.
supposed to be ready. So I think that's a skill. I really do. And didn't he say that? He said, I've done it in all different ways.
Yeah.
And so he needs this week, though, he gets a week of practice. I think
Correct.
that's a huge advantage for this week.
I do too. He literally said, he was like, I've been prepared with everything. I've gone out there in the middle of a game. I've gone out there after a week of practice. He's like, every situation, and again, he's been in the league for over a decade. Like, he's like, every situation I've been accustomed to. And he's like,
Yep.
getting those reps is great, but he's been put in spots where he hasn't even had those. So this is a
Yep.
little bit different for him preparing, looking like he will be the starter on Sunday.
Yeah. I also think if I'm the Bills, right? I've been in my mind, on offense, we've been preparing. What do we run when Case is in the game with the starters?
Yeah.
Because Josh Allen he's his own breed of cat there.
Yeah.
And he does things. I don't even think it's the play calls as much. I
Yeah.
think it's more of just the off script things he can do for you that just takes a good play, makes it great, takes a bad play and makes it really good.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that at a Case. But if the play calls are there and he's following what's there and he gets that week of reps, he does
Mm-hmm.
have Diggs and Davis and McKenzie and, Singletary and Hines. Like they've got players on this offense that can make plays. So I think it'll help them. I think, you're laughing.
No, I'm only laughing because you said they have players on this roster, and it reminded me of when Sean McDermott said, "Yeah, what did he say? There are players on this roster."
That's right.
When his like, introductory press conference.
There are
I
players.
know what you're saying. Also, I don't agree at all with what this comment is, but the name holding Dan accountable is just I don't even know if it refers to our Dan Fades, but it's
Oh my
hysterical.
gosh, that is pretty funny.
Yeah.
We're not, and he's holding Dan accountable. By the
Yeah.
way, how you like this one? How about that?
It's the wisdom you have that fills the day with words, my man. Todd, you are a very kind man. Because
The
I
the
don't
other question Melissa asked was, is Trey White going to play?
Yes.
You and I are down on the field, Jets game, and we're
Yes.
watching him. And Trey looks like Trey. He's running,
Does.
doing everything. And I asked one of the coaches, I was trying to get him to get a little insight there and he's like, it's coming, it's coming. And of course he didn't play. And I'm watching him at practice and video of him at practice. He looks like Trey,
He does.
but he
Yeah.
hasn't played. And what did Sean say? When he's ready.
When he's ready, yeah. Which yeah, I will say, like, I know they're being very patient.
I think it's him, not them.
You think it's Trey?
Yep.
See, I don't think so.
I think it's Trey.
See, I don't because
Nope. I think it's
do.
Trey. I
Interesting.
think he's never been hurt. I think he's a bright, bright guy who thinks. And in the NFL, that's not always a great thing to be. I know that sounds terrible, but
Yeah.
like Trey talked to you guys, talked about his life, talked about everything, the way he thinks. And there are some guys that are just like, I'm ready, let's go.
Yeah.
And that's not Trey. And he's never been hurt. And I think this is a big hurdle for him after his first injury to step back out on the field.
See, I don't agree with that. I think if it
Okay.
was up to Trey, he would already want to be back.
I think he
Because
wants to be.
because I feel like I don't know. I feel like there was an interaction I saw that led me to believe that he might have been like, talking with the coach, and maybe he was just very demonstrative with his hands. But I don't know. It's just seeing him before the game and stuff. You're right. He was very insightful and very like thoughtful during his conversation that he had with us with reporters last week. But I don't know. I do. I feel like he wants to be back out there. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
him as much as it is them. But I think we've learned that ACL surgery is not an oil change. But
A very wise
now
man in a hoodie said that.
no, a very wise man in a hoodie said it, and it had to be corrected.
That's right.
But I think maybe we talk about it being an ACL, but it seems like there was a lot more maybe that they were repairing in there. Dan's not here. Mike's carrying the wrong torch.
David, what do you think? Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about workers.
Away from work. Well, that's why I feel like they want to be patient, but yet they want to get him back out there.
When I have
like it's risk reward, but he hasn't played in a while.
the people I've talked to, I hear a level of, I won't say exasperation. That's too strong. They're like, okay, like we're waiting for him, and they love. I mean, Trey's been an awesome player for the organization, but the NFL, there is nothing like getting a player back on the field. Like they push players. They absolutely do. And that's why in this league, when you're not playing, you're sort of pushed to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think they want him on the field. I think they believe he's ready. That's just, again,
Yeah.
that's my guess. You feel differently. You may very well be right.
So interesting because I feel completely different.
Yeah.
Do you think he plays this week? No, you must not think he plays this week.
Well, McDermott didn't seem to think that when he said when he's ready. Now that might be the case. Like it may be by the time we get to Sunday, there's no injury designation. Like he's back.
You're right. I'm trying to think if McDermott said he was day to day on Wednesday, and I remember being like, "Oh, that's kind of interesting." Let me look that up on Twitter.
But I do know that he's not on the injury list at all.
Correct.
So that doesn't mean like he's coming back from an injury. So I don't think they could. I guess you could still say knee if you wanted to, but
Yeah,
Melissa
he's
says we're
considered day
keeping
to
him
day.
for a playoff run. Yeah, they did. I think they just want to get him at some point. They want to see him on the field, and I could see him on Sunday. Like I thought. I think it's.
Yeah.
I keep saying I think it's close, and then it doesn't happen. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I don't know if it'll be this week. I don't expect Jordan
It's
Poyer.
also a rainy day,
Yeah,
and
that's
for
true.
coming off a
Okay,
knee
that's true. I didn't
versus
like the
anything.
MetLife turf. I didn't. Yeah, you're right. The forecast is supposed to be kind of
Yeah.
gross.
So you got back-to-back home games.
But like then it's the Browns and then it's the Lions. Like, do you want him coming back on Thanksgiving a year after he got injured? Like that to me is like, I don't know. Like mentally, that would kind of mess me up.
Yeah, I think it
Like,
would. Hey,
yeah,
look, it's a lot. It's a lot to come back. But again, when I watch him run and move and cut and all those things, he
yeah,
looks great.
yeah. He
So,
does.
so hopefully when he's back, he looks like Trey. And maybe it's just going to take getting some plays out there. So we'll see on Sunday. And this Vikings team, Jenna, they have talent.
It's so funny. We were asking in the locker room yesterday, like questions about Josh, how this team is handling, Case being
Yeah.
back there, some injuries popping up, the fact that they're coming off a tough loss. And we're like, oh, yeah, you know what? The Vikings are 7-1, and we
Yep.
haven't even talked about them coming into Orchard Park on Sunday. But there's just been a lot going on.
There has been. I mean, you look at it. I mean, that I'm fascinated by the Diggs trade, Justin Jefferson to the Vikings. Like it's not the same thing as the Bills trading to the Chiefs and them getting Mahomes and the Bills
Yeah.
eventually getting Allen. But when it works out for both teams, I mean, the Bills are part of two trades and deals that have ended up working out immensely well for both teams. Now, of
Yeah.
course, the Vikings got Jefferson because the Eagles were idiots and took Jalen Rager, a stiff they
Oh,
got rid of in 2 years when they could have had Justin Jefferson. But it worked out for the Vikings, and they sat there and they took him, and he's a phenomenal player. And now
yeah.
they got TJ Hawkinson.
Yes. Yeah.
And he got drafted when you and I were in Nashville. The pick before Ed Oliver, TJ Hawkinson, went to the
Mhm.
Lions. And
Yeah.
now he's with Minnesota. So
Dalvin Cook,
Dalvin
James
Cook,
Cook's older brother.
a lot of Bills connections in that way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Keenum used to be there, Diggs used to be there.
Oh,
You got
I
Cook's
loved
brother.
this little bit from Case Keenum. We asked him like, is there any added juice Sunday against, your former team? And he's like, yeah, I have a lot of former teams. He was just like, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of which actually, if you think about it, if he were to play the week after, it'd be against the Browns, which
Yeah,
obviously he was on that team as well. So he was funny about it. But for
yeah,
Diggs, I liked what Diggs said, and we've talked about this, just how Mike, he just seems very genuine. And I really do believe him when he says, like, this game against Minnesota, while it didn't work out, he doesn't have any bad blood left
yeah.
against. And I truly do believe that.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed listening to Diggs. First of all, I like the way he talks. He actually talks. I like the
Yeah.
way he says things. When he talked after it was the Packers game about them pushing and shoving and the game being the way it is, and he gave a very thoughtful answer on it's a physical game. He
Mhm.
said, no disrespect to anybody in a cubicle, which I thought was hilarious. But he was making the point like, you can't go shoving somebody in your office.
Yeah.
But on the
Yeah.
football field, it happens. And sometimes it just ticks you off and things like that happen. So he gives very thoughtful answers there. He's full on team guy. He's
Yeah.
been a great player. He doesn't appear to ever complain, at least that we see. He's great with the younger players.
Yeah.
Like he's done everything they could have won. And maybe he just needed to get out of Minnesota, for
Well,
whatever the reason.
yeah, I was just say, I think it worked out so well. And like you said, for both sides, with the Vikings having Justin Jefferson. But I agree. I think maybe there was just too much that had gone on. And I mean, even Dick said like Minnesota was a run first team. And I have to imagine that would be incredibly frustrating for a guy.
The
So I
Bills are
get it.
not.
Yeah, the Bills are not. When they run the
Wait,
ball, I'm like,
what's
damn
the
it.
book he said he just read?
Oh,
Did the
so he said
story.
he
We
read
did
The
this.
Alchemist,
Yeah.
that really helped him when he left Minnesota or was traded away. And then right now he's reading the book, Unlocking the Power of You, I believe is the title. But I think he's done such a good job of really coming into his own. And he jokes, he's like, "Yeah, I'm getting older. I'm reading more." I'm like, shit, I haven't done that yet." But I think he just, and even Sean McDermott said, like, the maturation process of him off the field has probably been more so than him on the field. Like, they knew the type of player that he was before. But yeah, I know he'll be, I'm assuming he's going to be amped up for this game, but I don't look at it and think like he's pissed off and he's so upset and this team didn't want him anymore, because he's like, I think he's like, I wanted to be where they wanted me. So
Yeah, and he did. And he and Allen, their connection has been fantastic. But, he and Keenum have one of the all-time plays in the history of the NFL, from Minnesota. So we'll see if they can
yeah.
have some
Oh
of
my
their
God.
magic.
Go back and listen to Joe Buck's call of
Yeah.
that touchdown, because Dan was playing it today and it was just so incredible.
Yeah.
Like, like unbelievable. It was just,
Yeah.
it's really good.
Well, I
So
mean, it's a buzzer beater. It's not even it's not a Hail Mary. It's a catch and run. It really should never have happened.
yeah.
I mean,
No,
the Saints, the defense they were playing and how he got behind everybody, but it's just kind of wild that then that guy ends up on the Buffalo Bills not too much after that, and Diggs has been great, and now Keenum's here and trying to help them against this Vikings team this week. So
yeah. What would you say is, where do you think that the headspace of this team is at going into this game? Just because there's been so many distractions this week.
yeah,
And there's just, this game, it's so weird because I know it's Thursday, but I feel like we have like barely talked about the Vikings coming to Western New York.
yeah. I think when you have what the Bills have had this week with the loss, it keeps you into last week, and then with Josh, which is the most dominant thing.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, that's why I say this team as a group knows they need to step up more.
Yeah.
And Josh had a bad game against the Jets. He did.
Yeah.
He had a bad game. He's entitled to them, and then he gets hurt at the end, so that made it 10 times worse. But he had a bad game, but it wasn't like they played great all around. The run defense was terrible, especially at the end of the game.
Yeah.
The second, third, fourth, fifth wide receivers weren't making plays. I
Mhm.
did not think Dorsey had a good game calling plays. I mean, there was a lot of things that went wrong. I think this game has the potential to be just what they need. And I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be that kind of game. A little bit of a galvanizing game. Josh is out. Everybody's got to play better. It has an opportunity to be that. Where, when Josh is playing, it almost feels like, you feel like in most of these games, man, you only won by 7. They only won by 10. Like, you don't care this week. If you walk off the field with a win, they're going to be thrilled with how it goes. They need to get that feeling back a little bit. And I think it will. And I think everybody on that team will feel like they have to play better than they've played.
Yeah. Stefon Diggs talked about, and it is definitely the cliche, but just earning the right to win, and how you have to be on it every week. It is interesting to me that the Jacksonville game was the same week last year.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks after the bye.
I think
and
it was literally the same weekend. Like, it was like, that game was November 7th, and then this game was November 6th.
Now, see, if it's back in my day, they would have said it was the players. We got to check the players' biorhythms. Anybody ever talk about that?
What was that?
Biorhythms was like your aura. So the biorhythms were off 3 years in a row. Biorhythms. I think that was what it was.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, because it was back in the 80s. You don't remember the 80s.
No, I don't.
Or the 90s.
Well,
you were around for those, but
I don't really remember.
Yeah. I
No,
think it was biorhythms. Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up really fast.
But I think they were, whatever the reason was,
the
Jacksonville game was bad, and it ended up hurting them. Some people can overreact a little bit. There's still we'll be at the halfway point of the season, halftime of this game, right?
Yeah,
Because this will be 8.5 games.
Sorry.
Mood rings.
I just say that.
Yes, mood rings.
It's the pseudoscientific idea that our daily lives are significantly affected by rhythmic cycles of periods of exactly 23, 28, and 33 days.
So Rick is
We
telling
had
me aura and
23-day physical
biorhythm are two
cycle,
different things.
a
Yeah.
28-day emotional cycle, and a 33-day intellectual cycle.
Look at
Huh.
that. Well,
I've never heard that.
yeah, it's because it was probably just a fake thing to sell stuff and it went away. You tell him, Tom.
That's funny. Just on that little bit of just talking about this team and the headspace.
Yeah.
I love talking to Mitch Morris after a game or just in general. I feel like he's even if he doesn't like the question, he'll give a good thoughtful answer. But I was like, there's so many distractions going on and the Vikings are a great
Right.
record team, all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, you're gonna hate me, but it's cliche, but like we just need to focus on each of our jobs. And it's like I was kind of like, okay,
Yeah, but
give me
I
more.
agree with that for this week.
I completely do. I get it. I was like, you know what? It makes sense.
Yeah,
Don't make it too big.
don't make it too big, and it really is. That's part of what I was getting at is it's more internally. Like when you're playing against the Chiefs, you're worried about Mahomes, you're worried about Kelsey. Like it feels like that. Not that they don't have good players on Minnesota, but your thoughts are, at least ours are, what are they going to do about him? Minnesota's good, but I think this game is more about the Bills trying to get themselves right before
Yes.
they're even thinking.
Yeah.
And they need to do that. And maybe this is where it happens.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Well, we shall see. Well, Mike, why don't you tell them about what we have coming up on Sunday?
So Sunday we are going to be live. I'm just seeing here who scored the goal here. Wonder if it's Jack. No. I was looking to see if Eichel scored early. He has a shot. He didn't score early. I'm sure he got booed at the beginning of the game.
Sure he did too.
Huh. So
really, that soundbite they have with him is so good.
He was better today.
You know what? We actually talked about it. He seemed more mature.
Yeah, I mean, he admitted that he was a little hurt.
I think my smoke detector is going off.
Oh no!
I'm not even cooking. No, I didn't leave the oven on. I got scared.
Anyhow, he admitted that he was a little hurt and a little surprised. I'm like, wow, Jack. That's very self-aware of you. Anyhow, he's a great player. He's in Vegas. The biorhythm on 3, ready, break. That was pretty good. But for the Bills this week, we will be live in Orchard Park, 10:30 to 11. We'll be here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. If you're in Rochester, you can see it on Fox Rochester at 10:30 on television. And then, well, you can watch it on the YouTube channel too. Yeah. And then the game itself is actually on Fox this week because the Vikings are the visiting team. So we're a Fox station too. So you can see the game there. We'll be talking about the game. We'll be giving you updates on what's happening. We should know more about the injuries. Usually at that time, the list isn't out, Jenna, but we see who's out there. We can get an idea who probably isn't playing. So
we'll have a good idea seeing which players are warming up when.
Yeah, they're usually the guys out there. Yeah, out there with the trainers early. Doesn't always mean they're not playing. Sometimes they're
but
checking
not a
on the
great
player.
sign.
Yeah.
But
and then we look forward to it. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good game. People are asking if we got to pick.
No, let's wait. I'm going to wait.
You want to wait?
Okay. Yeah, because I haven't formulated what I want yet. I'm very conflicted. What was your pick? Actually, do I want to know?
No, I'm not going to.
I don't think Kirk Cousins can have another chain, so I don't know.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know if his neck can support that.
Do you like that?
He is jacked. I was not expecting that.
Kirk.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us here on Buffalo Plus. Please be sure to like, comment. Oh, we're closing in on
19,000.
19,000. Why are you laughing?
Just one of the comments is pretty funny.
Oh, okay. We're closing in on 19,000 though, so that's very exciting.
Oh, and David's asking about giving away merch. Yes, we are going to be giving away some hats. We will be coming up with some ways to get to you guys. some of
Yes.
top top performers in comments and with us. So we will be giving away some hats very shortly.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I also put the mini footballs
Oh yeah.
in. I put those in the car actually for you and Dan for Sunday. All right. Well, thank you for joining us here. We always appreciate it. And we will catch you next time on Buffalo Plus. For Dan, I'm Jenna. Nope. For Mike. Damn it. Oh, I'm so
Well, at
close.
least you called me Dan. Usually you would call yourself Mike or Dan.
I've called myself both Mike and Dan by
Yeah.
accident. It's
Well,
great.
you're Jenna. I'm Mike.
I'm Jenna. That's Mike. Dan's not
Dan is
here.
Dan has got the hoodie pulled over his head.
I was to
He's
say
taking a nap right now.
Dan is not great. Downgraded to out, but we will
Downgraded
see
down. He'll
you.
be back.
I was to say we will see you all on Sunday. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time on Buffalo Plus.